What's up, everyone? Welcome to round 3 of the Portland Monthly Premodern Paper Magic Afternoons April 2024 tournament. Got a couple of rad decks to show, so let's dive into the deck list. First up, we have David returning to camera with his Oath Replenish list. For those of you that didn't catch round 1 or haven't seen this video on prior month's coverage, the deck revolves around getting tons of cards into the graveyard with Oath Druids, and then using Replenish to return all of those high value, high cost enchantments. The deck is rounded out with just good cards in the banned colors, and overall is a very resilient list and really hard to disrupt. Next up is Mo's on what I'm gonna call 5-color White Aggro. This list uses all the best white creatures that you can find, those low drop aggro to the ground threats, and some of the best spells you can be casting with them. Lightning bolts, Engineer Plague in the main is pretty spicy, and just a litany of answers in the sideboard means this deck is going to probably have game no matter what it faces. Notably, the 3 disenchants main are very interesting in this matchup, and I can't wait to see how these decks perform. Without further ado, let's get into the games. Alright, we have David on the left and Mo's on the right. Looks like we're going to get a little roll off to see who goes first. I think David is going to take that down. A little bit of dice interference on the table, but you know, all's fair in magic and gambling. Dice rolling? I don't know. Anyways, I think this is going to come down to who has the more answers in hand when the other opponent tries to go off. Mo's, of course, is going to have a very aggressive start, hopefully, and David's just going to have to react to what he's doing while eventually ramping up to his big finisher. Oath of Druids, of course, is going to be very good in this match as well. Alright, looks like we got a land pass from David, Plains pass, well, cast Weathered Wayfarer, and David's going to go crack, and are we going to see it? Nope, we're going to see a Sylvan Library, so no Oath turn 1. Not sure if both players know what the other one is on, but Sylvan Library is definitely a good card to lead off with on turn 2. It might even be worth disenchanting if Mo's does have one of his 3 main disenchant effects in hand, as if he doesn't have Oath, which he probably would have played out first, then preventing him from potentially seeing an Oath would be even better. But first, we're going to get a Weathered Wayfarer trigger. Go get a land. Now, Weathered Wayfarer is definitely a great way for this 5-color deck to make its colors. It looks like Moses is thinking about potentially even a City of Brass, which would be, I think, the right call. This deck is gonna lose quickly. Okay, plays out a Wasteland for turn instead of the city he just fetched to keep David hopefully off of mana to cast Oath. But yes, Weathered Wayfarer, a bit of a slower play for sure. It's definitely not the Savannah Lions you'd hope for, or potentially Mother Runes. Ooh, and is David taking the full 8? I think he is. Ooh, that is very interesting. All right, well, there we go. It must have been a land and an Oath, and then I'm not sure what the last card was that he pulled, but that Oath going to be very relevant. Mo's gonna play out another creature and is just gonna swing in, figuring, hey, if you're gonna get 1 trigger, what's the harm in an extra creature? Okay, David's stacking his triggers, so Sylvan Library will resolve, or just choosing not to activate Oath. Wait, now it makes me curious. I have to actually look up this card, because does Oath prevent, or does that creature prevent targeting from Oath? I think it might. Alright, we're going to comment while I search. But if that's the case, that is a very good card from from Moe's, and an interaction I actually wasn't aware of either. But I'm assuming... Oh, Terravore coming down for David as well. But I'm assuming that either David chose not to do it because he had both his creatures in hand, which would be very unfortunate, considering he only has 2 targets in the deck.
I'll activate this. I'm gonna get a basic planes.
But I have to think that that card is preventing that Oath trigger from happening. Alright, David does have a fairly decent sized Terravore, 3/3. 3/3 for 3 in Premodern is not a bad rate. But Moe's is definitely still in the lead here. Alright, so the card that Moe's has down with the triangle on it is True Believer, which means you have Shroud. Okay, I figured it was some sort of anti-targeting thing, but Oath of Druids, let me just look it up real quick. Does Oath of Druids target? I never knew that it did. That player chooses target player. Oh, right, so yes, True Believer does shut off Oath of Druids. That is some crazy tech that I didn't even realize was a thing. So very good turn 2 play from Moe's. And now we actually have quite a bit of a game. David does have answers. He has, I think, 4 swords. Which... Oh, and he does have the Parallax Wave, which he does have at least 1 in hand. So... yeah, that naming is very important. Meddling Mage going to be coming in clutch, assuming there's no swords in hand. Alright, we're just gonna play out the Seal of Cleansing. Set up for the combo potentially. Ooh, and he does have a Parallax Tide, so David could still remove all the lands that Moe's has, which would be good, but it looks like he's keeping a couple in hand, including a Wasteland. Opting probably not to use that Wasteland because it does make the Terravore bigger. Doesn't have an answer for it yet. That Terravore is just a 3/3, but David does have a fetch land on the field and can easily make it a 4/4. Moe's going into the tank here a little bit. I can't tell if that last card in his hand towards us is a swords or if it's a creature. It kind of looks like a swords. If that was the case, the easy answer would be just to the swords of Terravore. But maybe it's Disenchant? I'm not actually sure which art he's running. I think he's running the best art though, which is the Ice Age Brian Snowdy art. My personal favorite, at least. Others may disagree. I do wish that came in foil. It's a crime, honestly, how few foil options we have for Old War Disenchant. Well, let's see. Let's get a Premodern Masters going. Reprint all these cards in foil. That'd be pretty sweet. I know I'm not the only one that would buy that. I'm not asking for like a Horizons set, mind you, just a Masters, so no new cards. Not that the fan run format would allow that anyways. Strictly breaks the rules and the spirit of Premodern, but reprints are always welcome. Alright, and Moe's still in the tank here. Really thinking about this play. Seemingly not pulling much to the front. Alright, he's gonna go for a land. Play out another threat. Playing out 2 more threats. Okay. So opting to go for the aggressive plan here.
Go.
Saying, I don't think you can kill my meddling mage. Alright, David gonna fetch. Drops down to 9. That is important to note too, that David taking 8 in the beginning for that Sylvan library is very relevant and really puts the clock on him. Having 2 shadow creatures that can deal 4 a turn means technically David's on a 3-turn clock, but if Mose can sneak any extra damage in there, which he very well can, then it is functionally a 2-turn clock. Okay, so off of the library, it looks like potentially 2 lands and an Enlightened Tutor. A little tough to tell. Maybe another Seal of Cleansing and an Enlightened Tutor. And putting the Tutor on top. Smart, gets to shuffle up the deck a bit. Already has the Parallax Tide, but unfortunately can't cast it. That is something I didn't notice before. It does not have any blue mana. Maybe relying on only replenish effects to be able to get that card onto the field. His Terror is a 4/4. And while Mose could block with the 3 creatures that could, and would be enough to take it down, definitely would not want to. Alright, so it looks like we passed to Mo's turn. Mose is gonna go in for the attack. And David functionally has 1 turn. Ooh, Mose with another meddling mage. I feel like you have to name swords here, right? I don't think there's another out that David could have next turn. He'd have to go land into swords and then swords the meddling mage. Then play out the Parallax Wave and get rid of everything else.
Seems good.
Ooh, Humility is pretty good too, actually. That would be enough. So yeah, Mo's opting to not play out anything. Feeling like his board presence was good enough, but Humility will give David truly at least 1 turn. Or 1 more turn. Okay, realizing that he might want to see what's on top of the library, but nope, gonna opt for the Humility that he tutored for. And that is gonna hit the board. Everything's a 1/1. Including his Terravor. But there is a sword, so we're gonna swords it. Once it's a 1/1. And yeah, David is not dead yet. But we are gonna swing in with everything, go to 1. You got 1 turn to dig yourself out of this. And go. Alright. No creatures have abilities anymore, which means that Oath is going to trigger. Gets the Acroma out. That is a big threat, but unfortunately with the Humility, it's just a 1/1. And seeing what else he has in graveyard, I don't think he flipped over anything relevant. Gonna library for turn. That is a replenish. Ooh, did he manage to put something in the graveyard that matters? Okay. Oh, he didn't go for the replenish. But he can play out the Parallax Wave right now. Okay. So he can functionally kill or exile all of those creatures. Is David going to stabilize on 1?
this fails to do something. Yeah, I'll exile your 5 creatures holding priority.
Okay, so he's gonna hit all of them, exile them. Makes sense. Mose draws just a land. He can play out, I think, 2 creatures. He's got a Silver Knight.
Creature.
Yeah.
2 Silver Knights, actually.
Creature.
Okay. Alright, he just needs 1 to get through, and we already know that there's a Terravor in David's graveyard. And that's his only other creature, so he can't flip Oath anymore.
Library.
But he will Library Trigger, and I'm betting he's gonna go get the Replenish. There's also Swords, but I think the Replenish is the target here, right? Go get your Parallax Wave again. Repeat the process, have so much value on board now. You'll also be able to take care of the Humility,
Wait, did you just
which is big.
put all 3 in your hand?
No, just 1.
Oh. Okay, replenish.
Seal.
Alright, gonna cast the Replenish. It's 3 seals, an Aura of Silence, an Attunement, which could be relevant.
The creature.
That Chroma's still there. And of course, the Parallax Wave. So he can take care of Moses' 2 creatures.
You're at 16. I will hit 2 of your creatures right now. Just resolve it. Yeah.
Alright. Are we...
Basically,
I don't think we're doing the trick here. I think he's just gonna hold up
shoot humility
a little more time.
and swing.
Gonna kill the Humility, make him as a Chroma. It's big ol' 6/6 Vigilance. Surprisingly not lifelink. But Vigilance flying. I think it has Trample too. Alright, we are going to get to Oath here. Gets a Shadow Creature, which would be relevant if there wasn't a onboard trick. And we know David also has the Swords.
Yeah, hey.
Now the thing is, Mose does have another Meddling Mage in hand.
Stick around, okay.
He could try and name Swords.
The boxes.
Not really reason to do that with the wave still active. There's definitely a case to trying to hold back threats, but he is on a 2-turn clock. And the sooner he forces David to get rid of that wave, the better. Or even if he drew a bolt. There are 4 bolts in Moses' deck. He just needs 1. I don't think we've seen any yet from any of the Oath flips. Okay, he's definitely thinking about this. Alright, we're gonna get a diamond. Pitch in a land. Doesn't want to take the extra point off of
Sorry, it costs 2.
the City of Brass because it could be relevant.
Oh, I see. That's fine.
Oh. David rightly pointing out that Aura of Silence makes it cost an extra 2 more. Alright. There is the Meddling Mage. Do you do something before it resolves? Or at this point, has it resolved? And Mo's just thinking about what to name. I feel like you have to name Swords here. Alright, we're gonna get a little clarification on what was named. But there is a Mom as well, which, if it sticks around, would be very good. The chances are, though, those 3 creatures are probably getting exiled. I'd have to imagine. Or at the very least, 2 of them.
Skipping that.
Alright, and the Meddling Mage did name Swords to Plowshares. Is that a second Replenish? It is. Oh my. I think that is going to be too much for Moze to take on, unfortunately.
I am just going to.
Unless he manages to top deck a Bolt next turn,
Okay.
I don't think there's an answer here. All right, so he's gonna do the trick, or is he not? Is he not hitting them first? That's interesting. He's just deciding to kill it without the value. All right, do attunement. Ooh, that's a parallax tide too.
2 waves.
All right, so he's gonna pitch both of those and the attunement.
Yep.
Right, draw 3, discard 4. I think that's what it is, and then we're gonna replenish. Get back all that stuff we just discarded.
Still don't have a lesson, so.
Still no blood.
This is one of the reasons why this deck is so hard to interact with. Ooh, a humility hits the board too. Okay, so we're doing this after the combat stuff. I missed the swing in, so David will be able to blow up the humility on his turn to win the game.
I'm gonna
But that is
do the thing. Hit 5.
2 waves. We're gonna kill all the creatures, or exile all the creatures, I should say. Gonna kill a humility.
Already attacked. That's right. Alright. Oops. And then I will. These guys are.
And I think pass the turn, or are we gonna blow up all the lands first?
Yep.
Shoot it.
Alright. All the lands are gone. Moze still has a chance. If he gets a bolt, he wins. Oh no, we're gonna take away that chance too. Alright, so basically dead. Is it a bolt?
Good game.
Moze isn't gonna show him. Moze isn't gonna show us either. And that is game number 1. Alright, here we are in game number 2.
Any time and like get something competitive, you know?
Moze almost had them in the bag, but David's stabilizing at 1 with some pretty great library and replenish triggers. Definitely getting lucky in that second replenish, I think, is what saved the game for him. Moze needing just 1 more point of damage. Let's see if the aggro deck can get there this time. If there was a 4th disenchant effect or any sort of other enchantment removal, you better believe it's in the main deck now. Unfortunate that he didn't see any of his 3 in the first game. I correctly timed one of those with Parallax Wave. Could have been the difference between winning the game and just falling short. It looks like he's gonna be going down to a 6 here, probably mulliganing to have some kind of enchantment interaction, which I think is correct. Or at the very least, an aggressive hand that can win before David gets his plan online. It's pretty safe to assume, though, that David is going to be keeping a hand that has an Oath of Druids. Not that we can see his hand quite yet, but I'm going to assume that that is definitely a Snap Keep 7. Ooh, Cabal Therapy is in Moze's hand. Can he cast it? Not sure. Alright, deciding about what to put back. That's Silver Knight looking like the most likely target. I think he's got 2 Savannah Lions in hand too, so he does at least have a good grip of aggressive creatures. And no, we're just going to lead off with Plains Savannah Lions. Just as Garfield intended, take 2. Alright, so now we can hit the Cabal Therapy, naming, I'm assuming, Oath of Druids. And it doesn't look like it's in hand. Is that a Armadillo Cloak in David's hand? I think so. I think that might have been some sideboard tech. Having that replenish is pretty huge too. This is a very strong hand for David. We got a Parallax Wave, that 1 more land, Opalescence, Armadillo Cloak, I'm pretty sure. And David's going to play out the Disenchant. I'm assuming getting a Plains, which hopefully he doesn't forget to fetch for him. There we go. All right, Mose has got his colors online. That City of Brass definitely going to make it easier to hit. But we're just going the aggro plan, full pedal to the metal, Lions all in. And playing down another 2-drop 2/1, I think. I can't remember how much toughness the priests have, but it does have shadow, which means it's going to be tough to block. Now, if David starts getting going here with the, what I'm assuming plan is of Terravor into Armadillo Cloak, that's going to be, I think, too much life gain for the white deck to take care of meaningfully. And David really needs another land, though, for that to happen. Specifically, he needs another green source. And I'm not sure what the consideration here is. I didn't see what Mose has in hand. Maybe there's a discussion happening off table. These are the two main TOs, so it's very possible that they have been interrupted to answer a question. Or is Mose thinking, do I spend that last mana?
That is a stacked hand.
There is the Parallax Wave, but you are 2 turns away from that hitting. Is that extra creature going to functionally matter in 2 turns, I guess? It's only 1 drop, so what is it, a Mother Runes, maybe? Nope, Mose is just gonna pass. Alright, David did get land number 3, however, it is not enough. Oh no, that's not a Armadillo Cloak, that's the frog that can sack enchantments. I forget what it's called. But it's in the Psychotog family. But instead of discarding cards, you sacrifice enchantments. So it functionally works the same as a Seal of Cleansing. Except, of course, you don't get it with Replenish. Ooh, Armageddon. That is nasty. That is very good. I can see why Mose was considering... Well, actually, he top-decked that, didn't he? Either way, Mose now has an unanswered 2/2, and David is forced to rebuild. Will it be enough? Oh, and David hits his second land drop and go. Swing in for another 2, down to 6. That is a 4-turn clock. Cabal Ritual, naming Terravor, I guess. Season R of Silence, alright. Smart, I think, preventing a real clock on David's side. Take another 2, go to 4. Oh, land draw number 3. Is David gonna stabilize at 2? That would be insane. Alright, down to 2. Gemstone Mine. Both players are hitting their land drops. Did David hit his land drop? Alright, we're gonna fetch. That is a Swords. That does save him at 1 for now. Oh no. This is gonna be a repeat of game number 1. He's gonna spend the white. That is a bolt. Mose takes down game number 2. Oh man, and that bolt doing work. It didn't show up game number 1, but right when he needed it, there it was in game number 2. All right, and we are in an official game number 3. It's been a minute, I feel like, since the channel has had a match go to 3 games, so this is great. The aggro deck really putting on the pressure, exactly what it's supposed to do, but being on the draw now puts it at a bit of a disadvantage, although I think Mose kept a hand with 2 disenchants, which seems pretty good, especially if he can follow it up with a threat. And yes, we do have a 2-drop coming down turn 1, unblockable, but there is a swords for it, unfortunately. All right, so just gain 2. Life total for the mono white player, probably not gonna matter too much. Ooh, and a Seal of Cleansing coming in. And Mo's probably hurting on mana a little bit. Oh no, it does have an Undiscovered Paradise, but does have to pass. Alright, we got a Sylvan Library coming down. How about remove that?
Bring this back to my hand. Draw.
Ooh, and how about if there's no more Oath triggers? Alright, so the Undiscovered Paradise, while being a very effective rainbow land, does come with the downside of being bounced. But if your deck is so low to the ground where you're basically only casting 2 drops at most, it does become a very good card. Alright, we have 4 coming down.
Okay.
4 Replenish, Sylvan Library, and Seal of Cleansing. Not the most groundbreaking, but I think David is a little desperate here, knowing that he needs to find answers. Alright, that True Believer swinging in. And Mo's not playing out the Undiscovered Paradise? Or is he just thinking it through? Oh, he does have a Wasteland. Keeping David off of 4 is pretty relevant, so I can understand the consideration here. Also, being able to cast one of the disenchant effects, though, is pretty relevant, and looks like that's what we're going to do. Take out the Sylvan Library. Does give away that he has a Wasteland, unfortunately, but not much you can do about that. And David not having much action in hand. I think just a Parallax Tide. Alright, Undiscovered Paradise coming down. Let's Wasteland. Yeah, probably the blue source. That makes sense. Swing for 2. And Mo's getting a lot of mileage out of just a 2-drop. That is another Replenish. Doesn't do much right now. I mean, you can get your Sylvan Library back. Spending 4 mana on that is not exactly what you want to be doing right now. But you do need some sort of card advantage. It looks like David's just going to pass. Mo's drawing all the interaction. That is a Crypt. And go down to 14. This is a 7-turn clock. Not the fastest by any means, giving David plenty of chances to draw into something. And I think just passing here, opting to not go get the Sylvan Library again. I don't know how many replenishes he runs. I'm assuming it's the full 4. I can't quite remember from the deck photo, but Bose is not drawing much in the way of threats, and he did finally draw another creature, a Meddling Mage, which I have to imagine will be coming down and probably naming Parallax Wave. Looks like we're gonna get a little Oracle text. Nope, just checking on the phone.
8 minutes.
I don't think I'll have to blur that one out. There's no passwords or anything. Generally try to avoid having players be on their phones. Don't want to dox anyone, but alright, thinking pretty hard on if he's going to be casting this Meddling Mage. I feel like you have to. You got to speed up the clock a bit more, and 2 2/2s doubles it, obviously. Also makes it a little easier to fight through with swords. I think the Meddling Mage would come down naming Wave, as that's way more backbreaking than a Swords to Plowshares. But no, Mose is just going to go. He's going to hold up a Disenchant effect. And David drawing a little dead here, and that's a second Meddling Mage, which is going to get swords. Or the True Believer will get swords, sorry. So now the Meddling Mage is free to come down. What are we naming?
Naming
I have to think it's, I mean, it's either Parallax Wave or Swords, and since the Swords was just played, it seems a little more likely
Naming attunement.
to go for a wave.
I don't know. I'm gonna name.
Who does have a Lightning Bolt in hand too.
Yeah, I'm gonna name Parallax Wave.
Okay.
Go.
Alright, yes, Parallax Wave was the card named. Is that a second or a third replenish? Or no, is that a, I think that's an Enlightened Tutor that David just drew. So he could draw himself into an Oath, and we'll do that probably on the end step.
Meddling Mage.
Yep, that's good.
And wow, did Mose draw a third Meddling Mage? What do you name with this one? Do you go Swords? Do you name Oath? Thinking of what you lose to, you probably want to name Oath right now.
I'm gonna go get Humility.
Alright, David's gonna Enlighten Tutor as well. He does have Replenish and I think 2 lands. Oh, interesting. Okay, we're naming Terravor here. Mose, I'm not sure, knows what
Immediately.
David's deck is exactly doing. Maybe not knowing that there's only one Terravor in the deck. But Humility is another good get for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Alright, gonna draw for turn. Go get that Plains. Drop down to 9. Play it out. Everything's 1-1.
And then pass to you.
Now Mose does have that Disenchant in hand still, and just drew, I think, his third. And yeah, you have to hit that Humility. David will, of course, be able to replenish it back, but you got one more Disenchant, and also still the Flashback in Graveyard, too. So, not out of effects here, and it's going to be swinging in for 4. And suddenly David's on a 2-turn clock. Actually, technically a 1-turn clock because Mose does have that Bolt still in hand. And David needed to find an answer right now. Is going to go for the Humility, because why wouldn't you? You also get your library back. And is going to hope that's going to be good enough. Mose actually needing a little more time. Gonna hit that. Makes sense. Gonna save the big Disenchant. Swing for 2. Drop to 1. Has 2 bolts in hand. But that Paradise has not been kind. Finally playing out the Tormod's Crypt. I forgot that actually was in hand if he had drawn that, or if he had played that last turn. Would have been enough. Alright, David, I think drawing a Swords here in his 3. But I don't think it's going to be enough, and Mose takes down game number 3 and the match. Congrats again to Mose. It's always great when the aggro deck manages to get there in the end, especially with a well-placed Bolt. Awesome games. Congrats to both players, and thank you to everyone for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more pre-modern videos like this. If you want to support the channel more beyond just liking, subscribing, and sharing with anyone who you think would enjoy pre-modern content, there is a Patreon link in the video description. That money goes towards gear upgrades, travel expenses, and just general channel expenses. Always appreciated, but definitely not needed. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it from me. Take care, and I'll see you next time.